Seeing things out of the corner of your eye happen to most of us. We often put these shadowy figures behind us, assuming that it is just a trick of the brain or a malfunction of the eye. But what if I told you that the figure you saw out of the corner of your eye is not your eyes playing tricks on you, but is in fact one of many entities that surround us? It seems like the concept of the shadow people have grown in popularity as the years go by, but what exactly are they? I'm sure most of us have had an experience with a shadowy figure walking past us, or seen the outline of somebody watching us in our own home that looks like a person but clearly isn't. This is Sinister Stories, and join me as we dive into the shadow people, a pack of entities that apparently haunt everybody. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night and seeing a shadow person, but being unable to move.
When we come to see the teddy bears are here to play.
If you haven't heard of sleep paralysis, it is actually one of the most terrifying things somebody could experience in their own home. Sleep paralysis is where you wake up from your sleep, but you are paralyzed. Your brain has woken up, but your body hasn't, and you are unable to move for a small amount of time. Sleep paralysis is actually not uncommon. I actually go through it on a weekly basis. But about 15 to 20% of the people that go through it suffer a little bit more than just being paralyzed while they wake up. Apparently, the small minority of people that suffer through sleep paralysis can actually see shadowy people around them, and some of them even try to attack. There have been many reported cases of a shadowy person jumping on somebody's chest and not allowing them to breathe. This causes the person to turn and move around in bed, attempting to escape the grasp of the entity while waking up the people around them to notice that there's nothing on top of them. And of course, many people in the scientific community do not believe in these entities. They say that your unableness to breathe is just sleep apnea, and everything else that you witness or feel is just a part of your imagination. And while that does sound like an amazing explanation as to what is going on there, a lot of sleep paralysis victims have a big question. If these shadow entities are just a figment of their imagination, then why do their pets start barking at it? There are a lot of people online that tell their story of sleep paralysis and say that they have an entity on their chest that is choking them, or have an entity that opens the door of their room and walk in while their pet goes absolutely haywire. If these shadow people were just figments of their imagination, then why would anything around them react to the entity the same way they are? Now, it has often been said that pets can see the supernatural, and there's even a legend over here, since I am Hispanic, there's a legend over here with us saying that if you put the eyelashes of a dog on your eyelids, you can actually see these entities as well. These shadow people are known as the Watchmen, and a lot of them are often associated with UFO sightings around the area or even aiding abductions. So what do you think? Is your dog reacting to an entity that's entering the room, or is it also a figment of their imagination?
When we come to see the teddy bears are here to play.
While most reports of the shadow people are reported to be inside, being outside doesn't mean you're safe from them either. Shadow people are often said to be in the forest as well. The scary thing about the shadow people in the forest are a lot of the times you'll see them in great mass instead of just seeing one entity. These shadow people are often said to have a lot more energy than the ones you'll find indoors, and apparently a lot of them try to mimic whoever is walking in the forest. Meaning that if you're walking, they're gonna start walking. If you stop in place, they're gonna stop in place. Now, a lot of these shadow people are reported to be quite friendly, and all they want to do is follow you on your trip to the forest. Many people think that these shadow people are often guardians of the forest and they're there to protect the trees, while others think that they are the ghosts of people that have been lost among the trees or died in the forest itself. There have actually been a lot of reports of hunters who have actually had to stop hunting or leave the area altogether because they see so many shadow people around them. It is often said that when many of these entities gather in the same place, you're going to hear whispering, but you're not going to be able to tell exactly where it's coming from. It's just going to sound right next to you. And while many say that these spirits are not exactly evil, they are mischievous and will try to scare anybody who enters the forest.
When we come to see the teddy bears are here to play.
Shadow animals are just that. They're the outlines of animals that appear to people in their houses or outside their homes. Now, these shadow animals can actually appear to you in a number of outlines, including cats, rats, birds, and even apes in some reports. Now, most of these animals are actually said to be very hard to see. They stay low to the ground and they can move extremely fast. That doesn't mean that they don't attempt to make their presence known. It is in fact very common to hear that the cat shadow animals are actually very mischievous and they will try to make a lot of noise or distract you from whatever work you're doing. Now, I have done a good amount of research on these shadow animals, and a lot of people actually see big shadow animals or big shadow dogs, but none of them have ever been attacked by one. It seems that no matter what size or what kind of animal the shadow animal is, they are never really hostile. It is also often said that you will see a shadow animal of your own pet if it does pass away. Many people claim that they see shadow animals of their pets that passed away doing things that they would normally do when they were alive, like sleeping next to them or playing in the backyard.
When we come to see the teddy bears are here to play.
Now, while most of the shadow people I've covered today are not hostile, there are some that are known to be malicious and even sinister in their end goal. These shadow people that are evil in nature even look different than the other shadow people that I mentioned before in a number of ways. The first one being that they are much darker than the rest of them. They are not only darker, but they are also harder to see the outline of. They seem to be black masses and aren't as clear to see as the other ones. Now, these evil shadow people are often said to be a lot more active than the other ones I've mentioned before. These often are reported to be walking extremely fast, running on the ceilings, on the roofs, or even on the walls. They are often said to have big red eyes as well to show their evil nature, and if you see a shadow person with big red eyes and a big black mask, then you should definitely try to cleanse your house to get rid of it. Now, I also have a personal experience with a shadow person that's only happened to me a few times. Like I said before, my house was haunted to the point where I had to be prayed for, but it got to a point where whatever shadow person I would see at my house would eventually start following me to school. It was around the 10th grade, and me and my best friend were actually exiting out of a club and on our way to the bus which would take us home, and we were in the hallway by ourselves. There was nobody after school since we did stay after hours. It was pretty empty and there was a few people walking here and there, but generally it was pretty empty. Anyways, as we walked down the hall, I saw a shadow person on the ceiling, and it went all the way down the hall, and it eventually made a turn at the end of the hall. And I was extremely spooked, but I wasn't that surprised since I did see a lot of that stuff at my house before. So I turned to my friend and he looked completely stunned, and I asked him like, yo, did you see that? And he said, yeah, I saw that. So that confirmed to me that it wasn't just me going crazy and that there was actually something following me, or maybe following us, and you know, it kind of confirmed that to me. Now, my best friend was at my house a lot and he did hear a lot of stuff, a lot of the paranormal stuff that happened. But of course, hearing stuff is a lot different than seeing things. A lot of the times whenever you hear something that's paranormal, you can easily attribute it to something else, like rats or birds on your roof or wind or something like that. But I think him actually seeing something like that for the first time proved to him that I was not lying when I told him that my house was extremely haunted. But yeah, he pretty much reacted the way I expected him to react, and I'm glad he saw it with me. Now, these evil entities are said to try to harm people, but not physically. They try to torment people that they are around. They will try to create some kind of psychological abuse by haunting the people that they're with. Sometimes they are even known to move objects or stand next to the person whenever they wake up. But they seem to enjoy people suffering and people being afraid, and that seems to be what they thrive off of. So while these shadow creatures may not be trying to hurt you, they might be trying for you to hurt yourself, and that could be their end goal, but of course nobody really knows.
When we come to see the teddy bears are here to play.
So now we're going to be going over theories on what people think these creatures are. Now, there are many people that think that these shadow people are actually us from the future. If humans were to find a way to travel back in time and study the past, they would most likely not want to be seen by anybody living in that time period. So the humans that do travel back in time could have found a way to camouflage themselves or create some kind of way for us to not see them. That way they can study us, observe us, and find out exactly how we lived. This is one reason why alien abductions are often linked with shadow people. It could be humans from the future wanting to come back in time a long way in the past to study us biologically. Or a lot of people think it could also just be aliens that are coming to observe us, and they try to cloak themselves in order for us to not see them. Now, another big idea that people have, and it's going to be very hard for me to explain, so I'm just going to generally go over it. If you are interested in this topic, then you should look it up yourself. And that is that these creatures are actually interdimensional beings, or maybe even fourth dimensional beings that we can't see due to our limitations. So I'm going to try to cover this as generically as possible and as easy as I can, but it is kind of hard to grasp. So we are three-dimensional beings, right? We can move up, down, left, right, back, front, and we have access to all this space around us. Now imagine if there was a group of people that were 2D, kind of like drawings. They can only move up, down, back, front. They can't move left and right. Now, if a 2D person were to look at us, a 3D object, they would only see a sliver of us because they cannot see 3D. They can't comprehend what they're looking at. So they wouldn't be able to see us completely. Now the same can be said for us 3D humans. If we were to look at a fourth dimensional entity, we would not be able to see their full picture. We would only see a sliver of them. And maybe this shadow person that we're looking at is just a part of this entity. And that's the only part we can see, and we'll never be able to see more because, like I said, we're only three-dimensional beings, and these are four-dimensional creatures. Now this is a big idea on what these creatures actually are, and to me it makes a lot of sense. If there was any four-dimensional creatures out there, we wouldn't be able to comprehend what we were looking at, so we wouldn't know. Maybe they're trying to communicate with us in one way or another, and we just don't get it because we're not advanced enough. And last but not least, people also think that these shadow creatures could be demons. Now demons are of course the enemy of God, and they are the servant of the devil, and they believe that these demons could be lurking around trying to cause havoc and trying to cause people to sin. Now anybody who has experienced shadow people and is religious or was religious is most likely to try to contact the church to try to get rid of it. If you ask any religious leader, that's most likely what they will tell you, that they are demons and they are trying to haunt you or cause you to hurt yourself or hurt others. Now while some people say these could be angels, most religious leaders kind of agree that an angel will not come to you in a big black mask, but would actually be a more enlightening experience. So anyways guys, what do y'all think? Do y'all think these shadow people are aliens, demons, and have you had any encounters with them? I would love to hear about that in the comments below. Anyways guys, I thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like if you liked the video. Make sure you drop a dislike if you didn't like it, and make sure to leave a comment below on what you think. This has been Sinister Stories, and thank you. I hope you all have a great night. Make sure to wash your hands and make sure to watch your back because you never know what might be watching you.